Coming up on Front Row, the two dynamic men behind the hit play Choir Boy. Offstage friends become onstage lovers for Broadway's Waitress. And a long-running partnership reaches a new high with the Prom. Welcome to Broadway.com's Front Row. I'm Paul Wontorek.
And I'm Beth Stevens.
What would Broadway be today without its powerful pairs, like Rodgers and Hammerstein, Lerner and Lowe, Ahrens and Flaherty, Pasek and Paul?
Elphaba and Glinda.
Sure, you see my point.
Of course. Collaboration is the bedrock of Broadway. Sometimes collaborators are longtime friends, and sometimes they meet in the rehearsal room.
That's actually true of our first segment. Playwright Tarell Alvin McCraney met actor Jeremy Pope when his play Choir Boy made its New York stage debut off-Broadway. 5 years and one Oscar win later, the two have reunited as Choir Boy bows on Broadway. Let's meet McCraney, the mastermind behind this very personal play, and the rising new talent who lifts his voice in the leading role. Choir Boy centers on the students at a prep school struggling with the institution's deep roots in tradition. For playwright Tarell Alvin McCraney, the story was born out of his relationship with his own community of Liberty City, Miami, which was also the setting of his hit film, Moonlight.
Play has always come from the same impulse, which is that at once I love and am invested in my community, and I want that community to thrive, and I want it to be prideful of the people who come from it. But having a love for your community sometimes also means that your community asks you to change, bend things about yourself.
Growing up gay with a love of writing and the arts wasn't the most accepted of life paths on the streets of McCraney's childhood home.
There seemed to be a sort of societal push to leave my community. That clearly what I needed wasn't inside my community, it was outside. How do you be your full self in a community that may not always accept fully who you are and what you are? And I have no answers for that. And so whenever I have no answers for a question, I make a play about it.
Although Choir Boy marks his Broadway debut, McCraney has received great acclaim for his plays off-Broadway, in London, and regionally from coast to coast. A play with rousing gospel music, Choir Boy premiered at London's Royal Court Theatre in 2012 and New York's Manhattan Theatre Club off-Broadway in 2013.
The mythical school that we've created centers around the legacy of Negro spirituals. Negro spirituals are probably some of the greatest treasures in terms of the cosmology of the Black experience in this country over the last 500 years. And then we get introduced to Ferris, who is a young queer man who is charged with leading that legacy in this high school. And what does that mean for him? How does he find his space, his own voice?
Way down yonder by myself, I couldn't hear nobody pray.
Ferris is played by Broadway newcomer Jeremy Pope, whose face graces the marquee here at the Samuel J. Friedman Theater.
When I heard that the marquee was up, I didn't want anyone to send me pictures. I just want to see it, and as soon as I got it and saw it, I just called my mom, and she was driving, so she pulled over and was like, "What? Let me see it."
Pope previously earned raves for playing Ferris in the play's off-Broadway debut. The role has brought unexpected joy for this rising star.
You know, it's kind of like the goal. It's like, maybe one day you'll be on Broadway. For me, I was like, maybe I'll be in Lion King or Seaweed and Hairspray, but there was just a few options for me. When I think about how this role is setting an example or just offering representation for young Ferrises or young J. Popes out there and looking like, yes, you can be in Lion King, but also maybe you could be a Ferris in Choir Boy, or maybe you can be whatever. I was like, there's just opportunities for us to kind of shine and talk about our story.
The list of characters of color on Broadway, leading characters like this, is not that large, but then when you look at queer characters of color,
you get real slim.
It gets real slim
on one hand.
I always think it's important for folks to recognize and see themselves. That's thrilling. I think also what's important is that folks who see themselves will also go, that's not all of me. It's important for people to be able to engage in those different conversations, and that we're all having them together, and that there are many perspectives to think about.
It's not a mainstream thing. It's not a thing that you see a queer young Black artist up there as a lead. Here we have, a beautiful story where we kind of go through all of the young boys, but it centers and focuses on Ferris and the things that he, is striving for. And I just think that is so beautiful. And while it can be heartbreaking at times, it's just honest and truthful.
Between Choir Boy's off-Broadway and Broadway debuts, McCraney took the national stage when he won the 2017 Academy Award for Best Adapted Screenplay alongside director Barry Jenkins for Moonlight, which also took the Best Picture trophy after a surprise snafu.
This is not a joke. Moonlight has won Best Picture. Moonlight, Best Picture.
How's your Oscar?
I think it's okay. I haven't seen it in a while.
No?
No.
Where would you put it?
I gave it to a management company to hold.
Okay.
Because I was like, I don't live anywhere.
How do you sort of look at that whole experience?
I mean, the most memorable stuff is that, you know, we put up screens in Liberty City. You know, they watched the Oscars in Liberty City, and then the power went out, and then it came back on, and we had won, and they were sort of like, you know, like that stuff is thrilling to me, because I'm like, again, it's, you know, those 12 blocks that I grew up in that are just now even more immortalized by this experience. So that's been, you know, just great and fun.
When that moment happened and the world recognized Tarell McCraney, I was so thrilled for him. We are very grateful for the Oscar, but I'm just excited for whatever is to come for him, and excited that people are tuned in to the Tarell Alvin McCraney, you know, because he is a special human being, and we are grateful to have him.
This play is amazing, and it's so interesting to hear where it came from.
Jeremy is making another splash this spring when he stars in the Temptations musical, Ain't Too Proud, at the Imperial Theater.
So much talent in one friendship.
Which brings us to another pair of Broadway friends.
Songwriter Sara Bareilles and Tony winner Gavin Creel have been pals for a while, but now they are co-starring in her show Waitress. Broadway.com national editor Ryan Lee Gilbert recently caught up with the duo.
As Waitress approaches its third full year here on Broadway, the show's creators are celebrating in a big way. Sara Bareilles, the musical's beloved composer, is back at the diner, and this time she's brought along a friend to join her, Tony Award winner Gavin Creel.
Going into this third year of Waitress, we wanted to do something special to sort of commemorate the launch of this third year. I really was itching to come back, at least for a brief spell. And so Gavin was the first call, and he said yes.
I'll be honest, I was scared first. My first response was like, are you sure? I was like, I said to her, I was like, are you sure? Partially because my friendship is the most important thing. Anything that could possibly jeopardize that or make it like, ugh, that made me nervous a little.
Working with friends is a risk. You have great chemistry in your relationship and it doesn't translate for whatever reason. We both are first and foremost professionals, and we want to come to this job, you know, doing it well. Right. And then we want to take care of each other as friends.
Luckily, the pair's chemistry translates with ease to the Brooks Atkinson stage. For Creel, the chance to play the flirtatious OBGYN who woos Bareilles' lovelorn waitress is, well, delicious.
I'm not, you know, heterosexual. And that's the best thing about being an actor, is you get to play, in this moment, get to play out like a parallel life with this woman that if I were, I would steal her from her boyfriend, and no, I wouldn't. I would wait for her to break up with him, and then I would ask her out, and we would have a wonderful courtship, and then we would get engaged, and then we would marry, and then, you know, because I love her so much, and it's kind of really fun to get to do all of the things that you don't, the flirt, the courtship, the confusion, the intimacy, all of it is played out nightly at the Brooks Atkinson Theater.
And even though this is her third time starring in the show, Sara is still discovering new subtleties to the role of Jenna Hunterson and the ways in which she brings her to life on stage.
It actually did feel very different this time, and I am a different person than I was 9 months ago, the last time I did the show. We had like 5 days of rehearsal, so there was a little bit of groundlessness about the whole process that felt like a little scarier than the last time. But at the same time, I really love that place on earth. Like the Brooks and those people, that company, that band, that crew, these fans, like this is one of my favorite places in the entire world. So I love getting to go back. I guess I'm just older and more tired.
Which works for...
Thank you.
Like, not for you, I mean, you know what I mean.
It does work for a pregnant, depressed woman.
You are perfect for her.
I know, thank you. Thank you.
In 2018, Sara earned an Emmy nod for her turn as Mary Magdalene in Jesus Christ Superstar Live in Concert, co-hosted the Tony Awards, earned a Tony nomination for contributing to the score of SpongeBob SquarePants the Musical, and released the lead single off of her forthcoming 5th album. It's simple to say that her career has shifted dramatically since composing the score for Waitress.
I always describe it as that my life falls into 2 categories, and it's before Waitress and after Waitress. It has literally changed absolutely everything about my life, including the people I know and hold nearest and dearest to me. It felt completely impossible to begin this process. And then over the course of the last 5 years of working on this show, I completely fell in love with it. I felt like a little kid, and I got reminded of the fact that work can feel as inspired and connected and authentic and exciting, as anything you've ever done.
And Gavin.
Yes, sir.
You have had a pretty big couple of years too. You won a Tony Award, Gavin Creel. How has that changed your dynamic with what you do for a living and the projects that you want to be a part of?
So saying yes to a project like Waitress is like, when am I ever going to get the opportunity to work with a friend in something that is so dear to her and something that's so dear to me? This show is very special to me for a million reasons. I realize, because of my good fortune in the business and getting to do different shows and yes, winning that award, that I want to chase projects that excite me and are exciting, and if they're not fun and they're not stimulating me creatively, I'm not going to go after them.
The rare opportunity to see 2 stars who also happen to be close friends perform together in a hit Broadway musical won't be lost on any of the theatergoers who are lucky enough to catch them in the show. But it's Sara and Gavin's dedication to spreading positive messages with their art that will continue to endear them to fans. In her letter to her baby, Jenna hopes that she becomes addicted to saying things and that they matter to people. What is a message that you say that you hope matters to people?
I think it's right there. It's that you matter. You matter. You matter. That's what I think. Your perspective matters. Your voice is important. If it's not being heard, keep talking. There are people who want to listen and to hear your story.
Have fun. Follow the things that give you bliss. There's a lot of really magical stuff out there, and there are magical people out there to meet, and we both live by this, I think. Oh no, and be kind. Like Ellen, what does she say?
Be kind to each other.
Be kind to each other. And that's something we should all hear. Like, just, if you do matter and you want to have fun, be kind.
Yeah. That's
good night.
You should put that on a bumper sticker.
That'd be a big, you have to take up the entire back bumper.
If you do matter, rolls off the tongue.
Take a wrap
and you want to have fun.
Yeah.
Also be kind.
You're walking over.
Whew, trademarked.
Aren't they just great together?
Speaking of great together, the Prom songwriters Matthew Sklar and Chad Beguelin have been working together for ages. I remember interviewing those guys back at a press event for their show, The Rhythm Club, in 2000.
That was one of the first events we covered. In fact, I think I was operating the camera back then.
See, it really does take 2. With their 3rd Broadway musical collaboration, The Prom, earning raves, the songwriting team of Matthew Sklar and Chad Beguelin are enjoying a high point in a long partnership. You guys have been working together for a very long time. I mean, it really adds up, doesn't it?
Over 25 years now.
And still getting along.
I think we've fought maybe twice over 25 years, and by fighting, I mean I get really quiet and he says, "What's wrong?"
How does it feel right now to have The Prom on Broadway, an original musical? And I feel like people are really embracing it.
It's funny because the first song in the show is Changing Lives, and it's, these ridiculously diva, nightmare performers talking about how they're changing lives, but it's strange now to get messages from people that, this really made me feel okay with myself, or it made me look at this issue differently, and it's really affecting people.
A joyful show that is both a brassy throwback to classic musical comedies and a contemporary take on hot topics, The Prom has captured audiences with a touching story about a lesbian teen struggling to fit in at her Indiana school and the over-the-top Broadway stars who try to help her. For Beguelin and Sklar, working on the show has brought them back to their own high school years.
I grew up in a really small town in southern Illinois. I sort of would live to get cast albums or see shows, and then I would spend hours, because I was, had no friends, just in my room lip-syncing my face off, and I can do a really good Ava Perón death scene.
Oh,
I have a final
fantastic.
broadcast that will make you cry.
And I used to listen to the 9 cast album over and over again and pretend conduct the finale. I would always, sit in my room and just get lost in that music.
What about dating? I know you're very different in terms of what you like, dating-wise. For you, Chad, when you look at Emma's story, how do you relate to that or not relate to it?
It was such a different time when I was, in high school, and there was no way, no one was out. Right. And I don't even know that I allowed myself to know that I was gay. I think my head would have just exploded if this musical would have come out when I was in high school.
Note to self, don't be gay in Indiana. Big heads up, that's a really stupid plan.
Two different kids with the same Broadway dreams, Sklar and Beguelin were introduced during college by Andrew Barrett, the literary manager of the now-defunct, not-for-profit musical theater works.
If you're not straight, then guess what's bound to hit the fan?
We met at
the Astor Riviera Diner, which is now a Starbucks, right near the Public Theater on Astor and Lafayette.
So you had a blind date at the diner?
Pretty much, at the diner.
Yeah.
And we just hit it off. And what was interesting also is that Andrew actually had a slot for a reading. So he said, do you guys think you can come up with something in a few months? And I didn't know how long it took to write a musical. Right. So we just wrote a full draft of a musical.
We were like, okay,
in 3 months. Yeah, we're like, okay.
It was based on Morris by M. Forrester. And we were so green that we just assumed it was public domain.
After learning their Morris musical was a no-go, the budding songwriters went back to the drawing board.
We did a musical, sort of a campy musical noir set in the 40s about Oedipus. It was so much fun, and we learned so much. We also learned that there's not a big demand for musicals about banging your mom. So that was, that was a learning point too.
And then we fell in love with writing kind of jazzy theater songs. So that's when Chad found the idea for Rhythm Club, which we started in, 96 or something like that.
Yeah.
Rhythm Club. I went to a press event for the Rhythm Club.
Yes, you did.
That's when I first met you. Get as close together.
Closer,
bright
closer,
light.
Closer.
You like each other. Real close together.
Mm-hmm. Should I stand on my toes?
And that was coming to Broadway.
It was, yeah.
Yeah, we had
The Heartbreak.
An ambitious musical about the underground swing scene during the rise of Hitler in Nazi Germany, the Rhythm Club premiered at the Signature Theater in Virginia in September 2000, with plans to land on Broadway the following spring. When financing fell through, the show was off.
It was very heartbreaking. I had a tough time going to the theater district for like a year.
I remember having a really serious heart because we were devastated.
Yeah, we were pretty devastated.
And I was like, look, this could be it. Like, I'll go off, I'll get a PhD, I'll teach, you can become a conductor, or we just gotta double down and we just gotta go for it. And we just decided right then, okay, we're gonna, if I have to bartend for the rest of my life and still write musicals, that's the deal. Yeah. They get a little choked up.
Beguelin and Sklar caught the eye of some powerful new friends. Hairspray producer Margot Lyon and Mark Kaufman, head of New Line Cinema, who were collaborating on a musical version of The Wedding Singer. They jumped on board and made their Broadway debut with the show, which had a modest run but earned them their first Tony nomination for Best Score. Another New Line project followed, Elf, which has had 2 holiday runs on Broadway and is now produced internationally. Without Sklar, Beguelin partnered with Alan Menken for Disney's Aladdin, a big Broadway success that is about to celebrate its 5th anniversary. Do you have insane jealousy for his Aladdin money? Or?
No, well listen, who wouldn't? But the truth is, I was so happy when you got that gig. And I know that you worked so hard on that show.
Aladdin was incredibly difficult. We got creamed out of town. We had to throw everything out almost. And so it was great to come back to Prom and to Matt and be like, oh my God, there's no, on the one hand, there's no brand, so you have to educate people what the show is about, but on the other hand, there's no huge crushing expectations. So it was such a joy to sort of come to Prom and be like, we can do whatever we want.
And then you happened and turned my life around entirely. Oh baby, you happened and look what happened to me.
Their only Broadway musical, not based on a film, The Prom is an exciting first for the duo.
The person that will go see Aladdin, might not have ever seen a musical, but it's Aladdin, so they'll go. And they might go, oh, this is what theater is. Oh, maybe I'll go see the Prom. So I think in a way it's good that they coexist together. And I'm not just saying that because Aladdin paid for all of this plastic surgery.
I was gonna say it looks great.
Thanks. The new nose is like, oh.
So it's gonna keep going. Like we're gonna sit down when you're like in your 60s and 70s, and
I should hope so.
Yes, let's hope so.
Let's do it. I'm in.
Okay. I'll look exactly the same.
Thank you, Aladdin.
Yeah. I won't.
Just old.
Thank you for watching Front Row.
We hope you join us next time for a front row look at the world of theater.